thought I would actually say this, but looks like the new Night Elven capital is going to actually be a Horde city as well as an Alliance one, and despite the recent truce and all, people aren't exactly happy within the community. Previous datamined hints were right, the new city is on the Dragon Isles, right underneath the new World 3 Amirdrassil, and despite the controversies, it actually looks amazing. It isn't named Darnassus, but Bel'Ameth, and it is gigantic with so many new models, so many new NPCs, and even a Night Elven paladin that we had just discovered, which may be a setup for a future storyline. This is the PTR, of course, but most of the city is actually there with some encryptions and bits that are work in progress. But let's see what this new city looks like, why exactly is it neutral, and how this seems like a setup for most cities becoming neutral in the future. If you guys want to buy Total War, Elder Scrolls, or any other game, you can get them at great prices with my Gamivo link. You can also get anything Warcraft related, gift cards and software, and all below market prices. Best of all, if you add my code DORON, you can get an even bigger discount, so make sure to check out my link in the description and get some amazing deals with Gamivo. So, all of our datamined hints from a few months back turned out to be 100% correct, so if you've been following the hints back in the day, none of this is that shocking apart from the neutral bit. However, what is shocking is that we actually have the city now with so many new models that we're seeing right now. So, the story went as we thought. Amirdrassil was of course saved, the most anticipated boss ever. Farak has obviously been defeated, and Amirdrassil was teleported right to the west side of the Ohn'ahran plains. This same Amirdrassil had empowered the dragon aspects, as you can see in the cinematic. You can check out the video I made back in the Dragonflight beta, but it was pretty obvious more than a year ago that this is where the new Night Elven capital will be, as this was like this perfect spot, the open spot they left for the World 3, and now with the Emerald Dream, we realize that the zone is literally just the western part of the Ohn'ahran plains. However, Amirdrassil has succeeded and it is the new World 3, but Amirdrassil is not the name of the new city. The city itself is going to be called Bel'Ameth. Obviously, makes sense. I mean, even in the past, Darnassus was the city, Eldrassil was the World 3. It wasn't named after the World 3. Nonetheless, I gotta say, despite the fact that I think this city should have been where the Night Elves actually live on Kalimdor, they did a really good job on the city itself. At the moment, it is early PTR, but we already have like 90% of the things in place. Some spots are a bit unfinished, a bunch of NPCs are encrypted, so the final product could be a tad bit different, but I gotta say, this is what I hope Stormwind and Orgrimmar are going to look like one day, like much larger and updated to the current standard. The entire zone is just like Darnassus back in the day, on an island, and a pretty big island at that. The city itself is pretty much like you would imagine, a lore version of a Night Elven city, and in my opinion, much better than Darnassus. I know, a bit of blasphemy, but let's be real, like let's be honest, Darnassus was never that crazy of a city. Like, people that are saying it is amazing is mainly nostalgia. This was mainly due to limitations back in the day. It was super outdated, but it always felt like they just built a city inside of a forest with all these stone structures and temples. However, Bel'Ameth is essentially what a Night Elven city should be like, a city forest, a forest in a city in a forest. Like, it is so big, so wide, with so much room like you would expect from a city that is in nature. We got a ton of new models that he just built of these wooden-like houses, temples that really give it this unique aesthetic. Now, Amirdrassil is the active World 3, and the city itself is around the middle of the island, right underneath the tree, but it is kind of spread everywhere, like it is not just concentrated in one single place. Since it was obviously teleported from the Emerald Dream, you might see that most of the structures are actually the same as they are in 10.2. However, we got a bunch of really cool things. There is a port with obviously a few docks. At the moment, we don't know where they're going to be going, but it seems like we should be able to go to all the major continents, and all the new Night Elven ships are looking amazing as well. All those old Darnassus NPCs that we have datamined a month or two back have been added to the city, and alongside them, not only did a whole bunch of creatures from the Ohn'ahran Plains move here to live, but you're running into a ton of these NPCs called Amirdrassil settlers years, which signifies that the Night Elves seem to be moving like full scale from Kalimdor to this place, which I can't say is all that great to be honest, but yeah, the center of the Night Elven culture is shifting after more than 10,000 years, and I'll say in a bit why, because I think this is all related to WoW Midnight. However, we also got this cool little corner with Death Knights, Demon Hunters, Warlocks. Most interestingly, we have even seen a Night Elven Paladin chilling in the city, but she's like half encrypted at the moment, so we have no idea how it goes, like what is the story behind it. However, with this new tier questline, as I said, it seems like all races will be getting Paladins soon. Now, all of this is great news, and I really like how we're now getting capital cities with this new technology where they actually look good, like with amazing graphics, NPCs going on about their life, doing things, making the city feel like it is alive. However, that now leads us into a little bit of a problem that has brought the community in quite a bit of a heated discussion. Despite being a new Night Elven capital, Bel'Ameth seems to also be a Horde city, which despite the faction relations, I don't really feel like this is the best idea. Keep in mind, this is the PTR, so it could be possible that things might change by release. This might be testing stuff. However, right now in the game, the Horde can do like 90% of the things in the city. They can use the Innkeeper, they can use the Flight Pad, they can purchase and transmog the Darnassian shoulders and all this gear, and almost all NPCs are friendly towards the Horde. Only a few NPCs at the moment are hostile and they will attack you, which seems a little bit strange. I'm not certain how this is going to work out if it ends up actually being neutral. Maybe it's like some NPCs that can never forgive the Horde. However, by all the accounts right now in the PTR, it seems like the Night Elven's capital, the new Night Elven capital, is becoming a neutral city, which, as I said, I mean, I understand the entire faction dynamics, how they can change these past few years, but I feel like this is just so disrespectful to the Night Elves. I mean, sure, things have changed, but let's be real. The burning of Darnassus was, like, what, more than 5 years ago? It was pretty recent, like, it didn't happen a century ago. Like, we as the Horde players literally participated in this, like we literally burned the tree ourselves, and then entire capital in the world tree was burned, and then they were turned into homeless refugees like for all this time. So now they're coming with the exact same setup. We got a new tree, we got a new wooden city underneath it on an island, and they decide to make the city available to the same Horde that actually burned it. I know and I understand all this friendly faction stuff and everything, but you know, what if a crazy guy takes over once again? I mean, it already happened a surprising amount of times in the last decade or so. However, other than this, what is actually interesting about all this stuff is that I definitely think this is a setup for the future. Based on the uniting elven tribes in Midnight, it seems like Silvermoon may also turn into a neutral hub akin to Bel'Ameth, and honestly, as they said, the faction conflict won't be happening. I can see whatever they're doing is going to be available to both factions. I've talked about this in a recent video, how I think all new playable races that will come to the game are just going to be neutral, just like the Earthen or the Draktyr, as of course there is no war or anything that would make new races have to pick a faction or a side. Like, these races in the past always picked a side because we were in a war and they wanted to get leverage. The only big problem with this new city of Bel'Ameth is how exactly is it going to be relevant in the future? Like, why are Night Elves just chilling on the Dragon Isles and we don't have anything to do with dragons? Keep in mind, we know the setup for the next 3 expansions. We kind of have the outline for the World Soul Saga. Might sound a little bit crazy, but I think this might be a significant setup for Midnight as well. The entire lore with the Night Elves and High Elves was that these guys were Night Elves that ventured to the other side of Azeroth, and they split and then turned into distinct races. Now, the Night Elves have moved to that side, like right next to them. If you look at the map, the Dragon Isles are incredibly close to Darnassus, where the Void Invasion will be happening in Midnight. They talked about elven tribes uniting. I mean, the Night Elves are elves, or High Elves are Night Elves, so something could definitely be going on with that. By the way, this is set up. I feel like we're going to be getting a little oofsie with the Night Elves once again, and that the Darnassus invasion is going to be spilling over to Bel'Ameth, which I gotta say, if that happens, it's going to be more than just a little bit ridiculous. I love how Blizzard is literally just destroying the Night Elves for like 10 years straight without a single break. Every time we think, you know, Blizzard is setting up feasts for the Night Elves, they're getting peace, renewal, and they just get a curveball like every single patch. Like, they always throw some curveball at the Night Elves and something crazy always comes to them. However, based on Midnight and what we know, I do think Bel'Ameth could actually turn out to be a relevant city in the second expansion of the World Soul Saga, which is why they may be turning it neutral right now. Thank you for watching. Check out the new info in the interview on Zelda by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by also clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.